You have an executable that you run and it crashes and you need to debug it. Well, first of all, make sure that when you compile it, you include -g options. This builds debug info in both GC and Clang. And if you use CMake, then you have to provide this CMake build type equals a debug to make it work, right? So if you compile it, then you can run your executable with GDB. So GDB, this thing. So what's next? You see this scary ass screen. What do you even do here? You type run. So run runs your program and it instantly prompts you about including debug info for built-in libraries. So if you press yes, you will be able to step into libc and probably some other system libraries. I'm gonna press N. Next, it's gonna run your executable and it's gonna crash and it will gonna say where it crashed. You can also type BT, it stands for backtrace. Just press enter and it will tell you which function on which line. And if you press L, you can even see some surrounding context of your crash. But I advise you to not be a hero and just type TUI enable. This will give you this kind of nicer UI that almost looks like a real debugger, right? So this thing, it even kind of supports the mouse. So you can scroll the code with mouse wheel and up and down also scroll the main view. And so if you want to invoke any kind of command, so for example, when you type, you can see that command window gets engaged. And here you can, for example, type N, which prompts your program to actually die. So you can't actually click here in the breakpoints, right? What you need to do is you need to type break, and in the current file you can just type a line number. So for example, we call this for on line 27, so we can type break 27, enter, and you can see that the B appears here. And when you run your program next time with run, you press it and you see we kind of broke on foo, but you can also see that my UI layout kind of got botched. It's because GDB TUI is not very good. So you need to clear the window, and you can do it by pressing Control L, and it restarts this whole ordeal. And by the way, before we continue, I do not endorse GDB. I think this is a terrible debugger with a terrible UI. And if you can help it, it's better to use some kind of a custom UI on top of it. If you can't have anything else, just please use VS Code with CPP DBG extension on whatever it is. It is much better than that. But I mean, you know, sometimes you just don't have a choice, and this is what this video is for. But anyway, you broke onto the function, and so you can press S, just lowercase s, to step into it, and you can press N to go to the next line. S, step, N, next. Let me rerun the program. You can always type run to rerun it from absolute scratch, like this. And also, let me actually break on somewhere like previous line, maybe line 17. So you can see we have another breakpoint, and let me rerun the program again. And you can see GDB always poops itself. So Control L is your best friend here. So if you press S, you step into GLFW in this case, and maybe you want to press out, you need to type fin, which is finish. Finish current function. You press it and you see it kind of steps out. Then you press N and you go to the next line. So another thing you will probably want to see from time to time is assembly view. And to switch to assembly view, you need to engage in a different layout. You need to enable. So you type layout and ASM. Here your assembly. And you see it completely covers the source code. So you can do layout split and it will show you both source here and assembly here. And maybe you want to switch focus. So for example, here you can see like a thick frame is around assembly view. And if you press up and down, this is the one that gets scrolled. So Control X O switches the focus between views. So here I press Control X O, and now my main is focused, and I press up and down and it focuses now. And you can kind of see that assembly view scrolls together with it. All right, but if my keys only interact with these views, how do I run the previous command that I typed my command window? Well, you use Control P and Control N. Control P is previous, Control N is next. So it's just like on the terminal. This is read line convention. You might also notice that there is no watch window and no locals. And this is because TUI doesn't actually have a locals view. So what you need to do instead is to type display and then variable you want, right? So window. And now you can see that you have a window, and let me like step into it. So we stepped inside, we can actually see here all the parameters that our function got called with. And oh, another thing, you might notice that I'm like ferociously clicking on the window. I can't copy anything. So if you want to copy anything, you need to hold shift. GDB releases the input, and then you can copy whatever you want on the terminal. And you can use your normal kind of terminal shortcuts to grab any kind of text you want. So this is just how you do it. So here you can go next and stuff like that. And somewhere down the line, here you have a window again. And if you type display window, now it is GLFW window, right? And every time you do it in this function, you can see that the window here gets updated, right? So I press N and GDB again prints the window. So it is kind of watched right now. Anyway, if I press fin, we finish with GLW create info, and I can press C. So C, it's continue. Instead of going to the next line, it just goes to whatever breakpoint is broken. So yeah, you press C, it gets to the next breakpoint, and if I press C again, it will get here and crash and die. Another cool thing that you might want to watch is register view. So you just type layout regs here and it appears here. It will cover one of the either like assembly or source view. So you have to pick between two of them. So you can type layout src, you will get source, and then if you type layout regs, it will get on top of source, and you can see all of your registers here. And I think this is the basics of GDB that you can reasonably survive with. Next, I'm gonna show you how to get the info on GCC, sorry, not GCC. If you type man GDB, you will get very bare bones man page that doesn't really tell you anything beyond just some basic command line flags. GDB is GNU tool, so it has all the GNU brain rot, which means it uses info. So info is GNU specific kind of man pages, which are much more feature rich, but also kind of bloated. But what it has a proper like index and links. You can navigate here like in Emacs by default or like in the terminal. So Control P is previous line, Control N is next line, Control F, Control B, you have it all. And you also have search here. So when you type Control S, oops, sorry, I accidentally suspended. So if you type Control S, you can see that down below, it prompts you for rejects search. And if you type TUI, Control S and TUI, yeah, here it is. So yeah, it kind of jumped here. So, and if you press enter, you will get to the TUI info pages, and you can again navigate anywhere. So everything that's underlined is actually a link. So if you put your cursor on top of it, you can press enter and you will get into this section. You can press U to go up, so to go backwards. TUI keys, for example, will show you all of the short keys, right? So Control X2 use two window layout. So if we go back to GDB and press Control X2, here like two windows, and you can circle between them kind of like this, right? If you keep pressing Control X2, you will circle between layouts. So this is sort of your 101 into info pages, and I guess 101 into GDB, but again, I don't really endorse this debugger. If you can use alternative, I highly suggest it. But if you cannot, hopefully this will be enough to at least not be completely lost. Thank you for watching.